At 4,810 meters, Mont Blanc is the highest peak in the European Alps. Modern mountaineering was born here in the 18th century. At the time, the Alps were thought to be the home of demons. But intrepid men, lured by the heights, braved the unknown world. Led by guides, this camera crew also heads for the summit. Reaching the top means battling the cruel elements. Careful planning is essential.
On aura plus de chances d'arriver au sommet quand on partira et qu'on ait un peu de soleil.
The view from the top can only be seen by those who overcome formidable obstacles. Welcome to the Great Summits. This program will take you to the cradle of modern mountaineering. Mont Blanc soars high above the border of France and Italy. The town of Chamonix lies in the foothills at an altitude of 1,036 meters. In early July, the town comes alive with tourists on summer vacation. Chamonix has a permanent population of 10,000. During the summer tourist season, that number swells tenfold. People gather here for one reason: because of Mont Blanc. The name Mont Blanc means white mountain in French. Though its high summit is always covered in snow, it seems so close that one could reach out and touch it. To begin their adventure, the team visits the local union of mountain guides. At Mountain House, people get help planning their enjoyment of the mountains, whether a simple day hike or a full-blown climb to the summit. Specialized guides gather information about the mountains surrounding Chamonix and discuss climbing options.
Bonjour.
The team's main guide will be David Rabenin. He's climbed Mont Blanc more than 50 times.
Jusqu'au sommet? Pas le tour du Mont Blanc? Jusqu'au sommet?
David has been a guide for 16 years. He's an experienced mountaineer, having scaled many high mountains in the Alps and Himalayas. Only 20% of the climbers who try for the summit of Mont Blanc actually succeed. David suggests that the team begins with a training program.
Toute la vallée blanche. Le Mont Blanc, c'est toujours un grand challenge parce que je vous ai dit, c'est une montagne qui est assez difficile, qui est haute, il fait souvent froid, il y a du vent, il y a beaucoup de monde qui tente, donc c'est vrai que c'est un vrai challenge.
Their challenge is about to begin.
C'est bien. C'est bien.
First, they head out on a hiking course with a panoramic view of Mont Blanc. On the north side, across the valley from Chamonix, there are mountains with an altitude of about 3,000 meters. The team climbs through a pasture on a path that continues halfway up the mountain. These mountains are called the Red Needles. Minerals in the rock give them a reddish hue.
Après toutes les aiguilles de Chamonix, avec l'aiguille du Midi, les trois monts, le Mont Blanc du Tacul, le Mont Maudit et le Mont Blanc.
The Mont Blanc Massif extends for about 45 kilometers. It has sharp peaks called needles that are connected by glaciers. The south side of the Massif is dominated by the tallest peak of all, Mont Blanc. The view here is truly majestic. Hikers can't help but feel inspiration and awe.
On est dans une région les plus belles au monde, avec les montagnes qui sont très proches et que l'on peut voir, que l'on peut même toucher. On a même l'impression qu'on peut les attraper. Quand on côtoie les montagnes tout le temps, ben on est obligé de vouloir monter dessus. Et puis il y en a tellement, elles sont tellement proches ici.
Mont Blanc glitters silvery white. This is the mountain that gave birth to modern mountaineering in the 18th century. The first person to organize a climb was a scientist who devoted his life to alpine studies. His name was Horace Benedict de Saussure, and he recruited young men to blaze a trail to the top. At the time, the Alps were unknown territory. Mountains were not even named on maps. Glacial peaks were considered wasteland. Since the Middle Ages, mountains were also thought to be the home of demons. No one responded to Saussure's recruitment efforts. It took more than 20 years before two young men finally accepted the challenge of Mont Blanc. One was a doctor with scientific knowledge named Michel Paccard. The other was Jacques Balmont, a crystal hunter who was used to hiking in the mountains. It was Paccard who laid out the route they would take. He observed the mountain every day and focused his attention on the Bolson Glacier. It was the shortest way to the top. Conquering their fear of the unknown, Paccard and Balmont climbed to the summit in 14 hours. They achieved their only goal, to stand on the top of the mountain. Their feat was truly the birth of mountaineering. The next year, Balmont led Saussure to the summit. His name is remembered as the world's first climbing guide. The team visits David's home.
Bonjour. Ça va?
His father Pierre is also a climbing guide.
Bien, bonjour.
Petite famille.
Ben, on est déjà 6 générations de guides qu'on connaît, donc c'est depuis quoi, 1800, c'est quoi, 23, 24?
Ouais.
La compagnie des guides a commencé.
The family album is a history of Mont Blanc mountain climbing.
Des guides. Hein.
Ben, il était né en 1880. Mais il y avait, c'est pas le premier, il y avait son père à lui qui était déjà guide.
This photo was taken near the end of the 19th century. A century after the first climb, women too were reaching the summit.
Et puis quand tu commences à devenir guide, eh ben, tu dois apprendre la patience. Tu dois, entre guillemets, te satisfaire du plaisir des gens, d'apporter le maximum de plaisir à des gens. Il y a un côté traditionnel, il y a un côté passion, il y a un côté travail, il y a un côté liberté. Donc il y a beaucoup de paramètres qui font que c'est un métier qui est assez génial. Et puis...
Team members enter a new training phase. Their next task is to acclimatize themselves to high altitudes. The ropeway takes them up 2,800 meters to an altitude of 3,800 meters. In just 20 minutes, they reach the summit station. Further up, there's an observation tower. But how can they reach it? There's an elevator inside the rock. The elevator shows altitude, not floors. This is the view of Mont Blanc at 3,842 meters, as seen from Aiguille du Midi. The broad Vallée Blanche Glacier lies below the observatory. The name means White Valley. On this day, they'll hike the glacier as far as the ridgeline that marks the Italian border. David pauses where the slope is gentler.
Regarde là. Là, tu vois, il y a une crevasse qui fait tout le long de la pente, ici, et qui passe 1 mètre devant nous. Alors ça, ce sont les crevasses qui sont presque les plus dangereuses, parce que celles-là, on ne les voit pas. Et dessous, il peut y avoir un trou très profond.
Climbers stepping on the thin snow cover could fall tens of meters. Yuka, the program director, has done winter climbing in Japan, but this is the first time she's been on a glacier in the Alps. she stumbles. Fortunately, it's only a small crevasse. But there's a large one nearby. Its size can be seen here in comparison with the climbers' bodies. Snow covers the top of the crevasse, concealing the danger. The team continues hiking to get used to the thin atmosphere. They hike on the glacier without break for 3 hours. They come within sight of the mountains that form the boundary between France and Italy. But then, threatening black clouds approach.
Tous les nuages que l'on voit là, hein, ceux-là, ils sont très noirs. À partir du moment où on voit le noir comme ça, et on voit jusqu'à l'aiguille du Midi, toujours noir, noir, noir. Et maintenant, on voit même noir en Suisse, là-bas. On voit noir en Italie aussi, un petit peu. Comme il y a le mauvais temps qui arrive, on s'arrête ici. Et là, on va rentrer parce que là, il y a vraiment de l'orage qui va arriver. Je pense d'ici 2 heures de temps, 1h30, 2 heures de temps, on sera dans l'orage.
There's no time to hesitate. They decide to return immediately. They're able to reach the observation tower before the weather turns bad.
Les conditions météorologiques, ça c'est un facteur, donc que ce soit la neige, le vent. Après il y a les conditions techniques, si vous n'êtes pas capable techniquement d'être en sécurité, ben, on fait demi-tour. Et après il y a les facteurs physiques, c'est-à-dire que si vous n'avez pas les bonnes conditions physiques, on fera demi-tour aussi. Le plus important c'est de rentrer dans la vallée, tout le monde en bonne santé et vivant. Donc le plus important c'est d'être capable de dire bah, les conditions ne sont pas là, donc on fait demi-tour.
On this day, the team glimpsed just how dangerous the high mountains can be. Mont Blanc is the queen of the Alps. It was shaped by glaciers. Glaciers are rivers of ice made from mountain snowfall. The ones here are up to 400 meters thick. As they flow slowly downward, they carve out the rock with tremendous force. Peaks as sharp as needles. Sheer rock walls towering 1,000 meters high. These are some of the magnificent structures that glaciers leave behind. Mont Blanc, that great formation of nature, is the aspiration of mountain climbers around the world.
Chemin du petit plateau.
The team begins final preparations for the climb. David visits his friend, a meteorologist.
En forme?
Ça peut aller.
Bon.
Alors, il y a un projet dans l'air?
Bah ouais, écoute. On va essayer d'aller sur la grande bosse, hein.
Oh.
Jan works for Météo France, the French meteorological service. He's an expert on mountain weather and patiently answers inquiries received from climbers.
À l'heure actuelle, là, il y a une belle perturbation là, qui est sur l'Angleterre, qui va traverser le massif du Mont Blanc demain vendredi. Moi, je pense qu'on est la
Jan
perturbation de
says the weather will improve in 3
Voilà.
days on
Pour
Monday.
l'instant, elle est prévue à peu près.
David asks if they can climb that day.
Et départ donc de bonne heure, lundi matin pour le sommet du Mont Blanc. Le problème, c'est une dépression sur la mer du Nord, un anticyclone sur l'Afrique du Nord, et entre les deux, un flux rapide d'ouest. Ce qui veut dire, pour être plus clair,
vent.
exactement, du vent. Donc le sommet, c'est du beau temps sans problème, mais c'est du vent, sommet 80 à l'heure.
Sommet 80 à l'heure?
C'est faisable, mais c'est
Ouais.
pour des hommes, comme on dit. Hein.
Ouais, ça va pas
dur,
être facile.
ça va
Ouais.
pas être facile.
On se dit à bientôt.
David says he'll contact Jan
Merci encore
from
des
the
conseils.
hiking cabin.
Hein, et à très bientôt.
Bientôt, salut.
Salut. De toute manière, le Mont Blanc c'est toujours difficile et puis je pense qu'il faut essayer parce que entre 80 et 60 km/h le vent va baisser. C'est pas du grand beau, c'est du beau temps, mais il va y avoir des conditions assez difficiles.
This is the route. They'll take the ropeway from the foothills and continue up on the tramway. The climb will start here. They'll go up a steep slope with a vertical gain of 700 meters to the Goûter cabin, where they'll spend the night. The next day, they'll follow the long, snowy ridgeline to the summit. It's the morning of the first climbing day. Rain continues from the day before. It turns to snow at an altitude of about 2,000 meters.
Super beau, pour la chasse à la grenouille.
Il neige.
To carry the equipment, David's father and 3 other guides will accompany the team. This is Bellevue Station on the tramway. A weather forecast is posted on the station wall.
Aujourd'hui, ils sont relativement justes. Peut-être que ça s'est éclairci
Ça va s'éclaircir après, là, enfin, en
hein?
fin de journée.
Fin de
dans la
journée.
nuit.
Voilà.
Ouais, dis-moi,
C'est
j'ai
bon.
une invitation en fait.
Just as Jan predicted, the weather is expected to improve. After a 20-minute ride, they reach the terminus.
Allez tout le monde, on y va.
The team is finally on its way to the summit of Mont Blanc. The group includes 4 people in the camera crew and 5 guides. Newly blossomed mountain flowers are buried by the July snowstorm. At 3,200 meters, the team emerges from the clouds. The top of the mountain is clear.
Ouais, en fin de compte, c'est maintenant la partie la plus raide. Donc c'est un mélange de neige et de rochers. Là, on a vu qu'il a neigé avant-hier. Donc pour nous, c'est très bien qu'il ait neigé. Avec la neige, en fin de compte, ça va tenir les rochers qui sont... Parce que cette partie-là, c'est pas du très bon rocher. Donc avec la neige, ça va tenir un peu les rochers. Donc pour nous, on est plus en sécurité avec la neige.
They wear helmets to protect themselves from falling rocks. From here, they'll climb in pairs, with each team member accompanied by a guide. The route takes them within sight of a couloir, a large mountain gully. Its topography makes it susceptible to falling rocks. Accidents involving falling rocks occur here almost every year. In fact, 3 people died here several days ago. The path grows steeper as they climb. They still need a vertical gain of 500 meters to reach Goûter Cabin. They climb the whole way without rest. It's dangerous to linger in a place where rocks often fall. The team passes the 3,500 meter mark. They wear crampons on their feet to handle the deep snow. The crampons prevent slippage on the snow surface, but don't penetrate rock. Team members are careful not to let them catch on anything that would throw them off balance.
Okay.
They climb for 6 hours.
Et voilà, Goûter!
Finally, they reach Goûter Cabin.
Bravo, Goûter!
It's operated by the French Alpine Club.
Okay.
About 100 climbers are staying here this night. They come from all over the world.
Where do you come from?
We're from Wales.
Why did you want to climb the Mont Blanc?
Why? Because it's the highest mountain in Europe. A real big achievement.
We are from Poland.
We are from Poland. Second time in here, in this refuge.
Why do you want to climb up?
This is our passion. Pasja, pasja, pasja.
The meal of the day is pork stew and rice. The cabin staff are proud of the warm, substantial meals they provide. After dinner, David calls his friend Jan.
D'accord. Alors qu'est-ce que tu peux nous dire? Ciao, ciao, merci. Bon, ce ne sont pas des bonnes nouvelles. Demain matin, très tôt, il va y avoir un âne sur le Mont Blanc, donc ça veut dire que ça va être couvert par les nuages.
Conditions are not good. There'll be a strong wind with clouds over the summit.
Toute la journée, ouais. Au sommet ou à 4000.
David confers with the other guides and revises the plan.
C'est le sud-ouest, t'as des moments où tu l'as pas, quoi.
On a décidé qu'on allait se lever à 5h30 pour partir à 6h30. Parce qu'on aura plus de chances d'arriver au sommet quand on partira et qu'on ait un peu de soleil.
The next day, the team will attempt the summit. At 2:30 in the morning, other climbers prepare to leave. A line of people with headlamps starts up the mountain. The team waits until 5:30 to begin preparations.
Vous êtes en forme? Ouais? Bon, bien. On y va. Allez.
Was it wise to delay their departure? At 6:30, they begin their ascent. Near the cabin, the temperature is -5 degrees centigrade, with a wind speed of 8 meters per second. As they climb, conditions will become even worse. Gusts of wind buffet their bodies. Clouds hover over peaks higher than 4,000 meters, which means that even stronger winds are blowing in the heights. Similar clouds linger above the Dôme des Goûters, which the team will pass. Crevasses lurk beneath the snow. The footing is treacherous. The team meets climbers on their way down.
Have you reached the summit?
No, only to Valot. Very strong wind.
So much wind.
And,
It's the Polish couple they met last night in the cabin.
Keep and go up, go up, go up. To succeed, Mont Blanc.
Where do you
They had waited in a cabin just below the summit, hoping the weather would improve. But the wind kept blowing, so they had to give up and come back down. How high can the team go? The guides must make that decision. Unless the wind dies down, they won't be able to reach the summit from the cabin either. They make it to the Dôme de Goûter by 8:30. Mont Blanc looms ahead. Blanc cabin offers refuge just below the summit. The clouds above the peak show that the winds are still fierce higher up. There's a broad glacier ahead. If there's mist, it'll be easy to get lost. The team reaches Blanc cabin by 10:30. Wind speed is 11 meters per second. Should they keep going or withdraw? David makes the decision.
Je pense qu'on va y arriver, mais vous allez voir que c'est partir de maintenant où ça va être difficile. Jusqu'à là, c'était la rigolade. Régulier, régulier, le même rythme, régulier. Pas de coup d'accélérateur, pas de coup de frein. Régulier.
They decide to go ahead. Turning their backs on the cabin, they begin the final ascent. The oxygen level here is already less than 2/3 that of sea level. The climber's legs feel heavy and weak. Fortunately, as David predicted, the weather starts to improve. At 11 o'clock, they come out on the ridge that divides France from Italy. Italy is on the right. The temperature has dropped to 10 below centigrade. As they progress, the path dwindles to a knife-like ridge. It's called the Stairway to Heaven. Where the slope grows less steep, David lets Yuka go ahead of him. There's no place higher ahead.
Summit, Mont Blanc.
Just after noon, they reach the summit.
Bravo! Congratulations! Le sommet du Mont Blanc, c'est l'aboutissement d'une carrière. Hein. Il n'y a pas plus haut dans les Alpes. En plus, on l'a fait dans des conditions assez difficiles, donc c'est vraiment bien. Ces moments d'émotion qu'il y a avec les larmes au sommet, ça c'est quelque chose d'assez fort pour nous.
David says that the spirit of mountaineering is to really know the mountains and to overcome one's own limitations. Sometimes climbers must have the courage to turn back. But in the end, the most important thing of all is enjoyment, because the mountains are truly beautiful. In the 18th century, the first scaling of Mont Blanc gave birth to mountain climbing. Modern mountaineering spread from here throughout the world. The elegant white queen of the Alps will always attract those who seek adventure in the heights.